How are you, sir? Are you okay?
By God's grace, all right.
Huh?
How is your mom now?
Alhamdulillah, she's good. She's getting better. But at that age, it's up and down. She's 90. So, yeah. But she's good. She's good. Yes. What can I do? You frightened me there. I think it's just to pick up the mic. Am I right?
Yeah. Extra mic.
Right. Okay. That's fine.
Cool.
That's fine. Though, not a problem at all.
So, Shabir, the other day, of course, we caught up briefly. I don't know if you've been following what has been happening at the park with some of the debates we have been doing. Essentially, one of the crucial points we are trying to get to is to establish the fact that God of the Bible, Yahweh, Jesus, is of course not at all the same as Islamic Allah. They are polar opposites, and that is a prime theme that we are trying to advance, just so Christians could be clear, Jews could be clear that Islamic Allah is not the God of the Bible, and likewise Muslims like you also, some of the sincere ones, could also be clear in seeing, of course, God of the Bible is not Islamic Allah, and therefore that could give you a chance to get to the God of the Bible. That's our motivation, and that is where I brought up this point about Sharia versus Torah, and my main point there isn't to deal with the jurisprudence, not the law, but rather to establish the nature of God. And of course, one of the things that show up as part of the nature of God is morality of God. Yeah. So that's the background to.
I see. I understand. I understand.
So,
right. Not a problem at all, Arul. The issue here is that when we had our conversation a few weeks ago, I was very particular about the words that were being employed with you. And I even asked you, I said, Arul, are you talking about the legal elements? And you said yes. I said, okay, well, if that is the case, then we ought to include the New Testament also, because there are legal elements in there. However, and also you were very clear that it's the Torah and the Quran. But from what you have just said now, I can fully understand that what you are saying is that no, the Bible, collectively, the Quran or Islam, let's basically say Christianity and Islam, okay? From my angle, yeah, what you are saying, Arul, is that look, how the Creator is perceived in Christianity and how the Creator is perceived in Islam is the issue here that we need to address.
yes.
Yeah? Excellent.
The characteristic of Islamic Allah versus Yahweh.
Right, okay.
Moral aspects,
right.
Morality. Thereby, my ultimate point is going to be Yahweh is not the same at all with Allah. They are polar opposites, different gods. You might, if you follow some of the Soko films videos, you'd also already see that Muhammad, I think he's a sheikh. So I don't know what sheikh means, but he is someone who's supposed to know Quran. And he,
oh, Brother Muhammad, the Arab.
The Arab.
With the glasses.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he clearly agreed,
right,
based on our particular discussion on that day, that Yahweh is not the same as Islamic Allah. He agreed on that already. And then subsequently, we also had another debate with him, and then also with Samshi.
Yeah.
And there they agreed that Islam is nothing but human reaction to situations that we might get into. Nothing to do with supernatural elements in terms of
yeah.
So
well, actually, can I just address that? I think you're being unfair to Brother Shamsi. I did watch that. Brother Shamsi said something to you, and in your 3 minutes, you then said what he had not really said. He was explaining to you, and I don't want to go too much into that, but that was a conversation between. But I can say, if you have a look at the video again, you are being somewhat unjust to him. He was actually saying something else, but you,
I mean,
if I could just, I was about to say, you concluded, Arul, what you thought he had actually said when he hadn't really said that. So, but leave that aside.
Yeah, so just to remind you quickly, Shabir, ignoring the word used, the point was, his point was, of course, if you are in trouble, you can lie. That was his point. And that is what he qualified as a normal human reaction.
Okay.
Now, use any other word you might want to use. My only point there is, when it's, of course, regular human reaction, especially when it comes to lying, which goes against the commandment of God, what I'd say is that's of course not of God. But you are right. I wanted to suggest a particular theme today in regards to the Torah versus Sharia. And the particular theme was in relation to keeping oaths. Oaths, covenant, keeping contracts, contractual obligations.
Keeping agreements.
Agreements.
Okay.
Sticking to an agreement.
OATHS.
Yeah.
Oaths.
I know.
Yeah.
My friends,
it's okay.
I know my friends
Yeah,
have
no
trouble
worries.
understanding
No worries.
my accent on that. I do
yeah,
apologize. So keeping an agreement
Tell me.
in that regard, if we can again compare and contrast Yahweh with Islamic Allah, and there my conclusion is going to be again Yahweh obviously is polar opposite to Islamic Allah.
Okay.
And so hopefully you could also agree, like Muhammad
Right.
Sheikh, you could also agree today.
Yeah.
Of course they are not the same, they are very different.
Right. Okay. I can see your proposition, but I'm going to put my proposition forward. I told you then, and I'll tell you again, that from my perspective, the creator, by definition, can only be one. So the very idea, the notion that there's a different God in the Bible and a different God in the Quran is alien by the very standards of the books themselves. Okay? So there can only be one creator, and if there is any polar opposite, using your wording, if there is any polar opposite, then it would be due to the misunderstanding of one party and another. It certainly is not because there seems to be more than one God. Yeah. So if we were to look at it the way we had agreed initially, we were going to look at the Torah and we are going to look at the Quran. Now, I actually had suggested to you, brother, look, do you want to include the New Testament? Because it was legal elements. It seems like the discussion now has taken a slight diversion from what we had originally agreed. I don't mind if that's how you want to take it. But what we should be discussing, if we are going to talk about the nature of the Creator, then it has to be in totality.
Yeah,
not
all the Bible. Yeah, so I
no,
apologize.
not restricted to a particular aspect only. That would be unfair.
I don't know, in the interest of time. We haven't got much time. How much time have we got?
Arul,
45 minutes.
Arul, in the interest of time, I agree with you, but to come and then change the very basis of the discussion is being somewhat disingenuous.
I do apologize if it comes.
Apology
like
accepted.
Thank you.
But we
can work out a good way forward.
I hope
Shabir.
so.
My point is, if we take, so my point, just so we are on the same page again, my point is I am suggesting that I'd like to compare Yahweh of the Bible with the Islamic Allah.
Okay.
And especially by taking this element of what their specific take on, Islamic Allah's take versus Yahweh's take on keeping an oath, keeping a contract, keeping an agreement, what their specific take on this particular thing. And there my conclusion is going to be, obviously they have a completely different stance. And based on that, if we could come to any conclusion in the next 45 minutes or so, if we add anything to that, I'm willing to do anything on top of that, maybe on another occasion, but just in the interest of time.
No, in the interest of time, I have no problem with that, Arul. Cool. My concern is that if in a period of 3 weeks you've already changed the goalposts, then I am expecting goalposts changing in the conversation itself. Again, I don't mind, yeah? At the end of the day, we are here to try and establish certain things, and that is what we want to do. So, yes, I have no problem with that if you want to take that approach. But one thing I am saying again is that logic will dictate that there can only be one creator. So if you are going to talk about the difference between the approach of the creator in what you call the Bible and the Quran, I would suggest to you that the only difference that you will see, this polar opposite, is in the understanding of what the contents of the two respective books say.
Yeah, I'll make just one last remark before jumping onto the specific subject, purely because you're making this point again.
Yeah, sure.
The point is, I do appreciate there's only one creator. Only one. And I think that is the God of the Bible.
You said two.
No, I think that it's only the God of the Bible.
At the start, Arul, you said two.
Unfortunately though, people think the Quran or the Quran has a revelation from the Creator, or in other words, Islamic Allah is the Creator. People think that is the case. People like you, and there are many other well-intentioned people who think that way, and that is why I am bringing in the challenge now to say, no, that can't be true. Obviously, they are different, and we have reasons to trust in the Bible because there is supernatural revelation there, but there is none here, and therefore the one creator has to be the God of the Bible.
Yeah.
That would be my logical flow.
But
for now,
that's
keeping
fine.
oaths.
That's fine. What we'll do, Arul, we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
But one of the things I am also going to say is that you are making bullet points which ought to be discussed to establish whether they are valid or not. For example, you just said there's a supernatural aspect to the Bible.
Yep.
Okay. We need to discuss it whether there is or there isn't.
I'm willing.
Now that's a different matter altogether.
Absolutely.
So what I am saying is that look, in the interest of fairness, I would suggest don't bring in aspects which they themselves require a discussion on, and then follow that basis and then lead to a conclusion.
Cool.
That's being
I'll
unfair.
leave that for
so what
later,
I would suggest,
later discussion.
Yeah, what I would
Can I-
suggest we do here, we want to talk about the understanding of what the creator is. In terms of the oaths, it's a very loose word you have applied, but I'll go with it anyway and we'll proceed.
Yeah, cool. And did you want this to be particularly timed, or I'm willing?
No,
for a
it's better a
conversation?
conversation.
Okay,
I
cool,
prefer
that's
it that way. And you will find me not interjecting constantly. I will never do that. And I hope you don't do the same.
Yeah, I'll roughly stick to something like maybe 3 to 5 minutes on. The first introduction is going to.
Go ahead.
So I'd like to set the context properly.
Yeah, go ahead.
So to set the context properly, I'm going to read one particular verse from the Quran, which is Surah 66, Ayah 2. Surah 66, Ayah 2.
Yeah.
It says, Allah has made lawful for you, i.e. Muslims, absolution from your oaths. And Allah is your protector. He is the knower, the wise. So here, of course, the context, it's a wider context in relation to Muhammad and his wives. A few things were happening. Now, those things in themselves are available for a longer discussion. My focus is not that. My focus is purely on the keeping of the oath. And here, my point is Allah, Islamic Allah thinks people can have absolution from their oaths. That's something he thinks is legally valid. You can agree on something and then later think, you know what, no, I don't agree on that for whatever reason. That is what Islamic Allah thinks.
Okay.
Legally.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, so that's what he thinks legally.
Okay.
Now, if I were to contrast that against the character of Yahweh of the Bible, I see a completely different thing there.
Okay.
What I see in Yahweh of the Bible is, Yahweh of the Bible is someone who keeps his word, period. No ifs, no buts, no revisions at any later date. When he says something, that is what he says.
Can you give me an example?
Exactly. I'm going to go there exactly just now. I can read to you scriptures. It's going to take a few minutes. So I don't know if. So 1 second, please. Let me read to you a passage from 2 Samuel, chapter 21, verses 1 to 14. Just give me 1 minute. Let me get that. I was hoping to have my Bible with me, but I need to stick to my.
1 second.
Yeah, sure.
Hold this. Hold this.
Sorry.
Right. Give me 1 second, Arul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold. Which one do you want?
No, I want my notes, my Bible. Sorry, 1 second.
Why is your Bible? There's no difference.
No, I have my notes on them. I have
okay.
That's the only reason.
Okay, not a problem.
So, yeah, cool. So
can I just ask which version this is?
No, that's that. Why is that?
There's no harm in you telling me. Which version is this?
This one. Why do you ask, Shabir? Just so I know.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
So that I can understand.
Yeah.
which one you are using and whether there's a difference with the ones that I use.
No. In terms of content, they'd all be the same.
No. I'm asking which version is this?
So the translation that I use.
Arul, respectfully, it's simple.
Yeah.
Is it the King James? Is
No,
it the New International
I
Version?
use-
Which one is it?
The translation I use is what is called the New King James.
Excellent, thank you. It was simple. Why did you have
know,
to try
I
and go
know.
all the way?
You know,
I'm not going to try and trip you up, don't worry.
Shabi, you are a very knowledgeable man, and you know.
You are entitled to
at
your
the-
opinion.
Well, and I genuinely think that
Yeah.
in terms of some of the
Please,
things,
yeah,
some of the
sure.
points you make. But the point is, you should know about the park, and in the park, Muslims have been incorrectly advancing this idea that different versions actually mean different Bibles. And I don't for a moment say you, someone as qualified as you, would
Yeah,
make that kind of point at all. But I'm just suggesting other people do, and I didn't want your statements to be misconstrued. That's the only reason I hesitate to answer your.
Before you do that, Arul, you see, respectfully,
Yeah.
you must accept the majority of the people who are misconstruing Islam are that sister there, what is she called?
The refugees.
Khatun, the other brothers also. However, the position you must accept, that when the Muslim says about the versions, you've got to accept that because I've got two right now.
Um,
You will. If I
Shabir,
can, no, one
Shabir,
second.
with all-
I didn't
Yeah, I'll let you
interject.
finish.
Please let me finish. And it's only valid that if the Muslims are saying their versions, here is one, and here is another, and here is another. You've got to accept that this one is not the same as this one, and these two are not the same as this one. When you use the word translation here, this, respectfully, is not a translation because these have got more books. This is just as a side point because it would be unfair on the Muslims to say that they are trying to misconstrue things when the truth is that there are more books in one than the other. So anyway, carry on.
Shabir,
Carry on.
you have sneaked in a few points which are completely incorrect there, which you shouldn't. I didn't expect you to do that.
I didn't do
And
anything
this is
of the
why
kind.
I hesitated in answering your previous question. If you wanted, I can have a lengthy discussion with you on Bible and its text. Just because you on camera spoke about my sister Hatun, I should
no,
make
I'm
this
saying
point.
that.
I should make this
Yeah.
point. She is my dear sister,
And I don't have any problem against that.
And in as far as what I have heard her say at the park, I don't think she advances any wrong idea. She might come about. She might make points in a way which you might not like, but still which are true points which are useful for others to hear. Now, and
According to who?
No.
I don't want to argue about
No,
that.
I don't.
She is a dear sister.
I-
I just want to. I
she-
just don't
she's-
want you to disrespect her.
Arul,
at this stage.
I will not.
Now-
If it came across, I take it back. But what I said to you is that look, when you are talking about the Muslims,
if you,
the
Shabir,
versions are there.
Shabir,
please.
you must
Carry on,
remember.
carry on.
Like I said, the one reason, the very important reason I said you must know, you would know your stuff, is because I'm sure you would be following what's happening at the park, and you would know. Not long ago, the very same Hatun you mentioned about brought in 30 different Qurans to the park. 30 different Qurans. If you want to have a long chat about that, I'm willing to have. But that's not what we're talking about now.
We'll
Let's
do
not-
that. We'll do that.
By all
So
means.
there's no
So there are 30
there's no
Qurans
misconstruence
and there are
here.
a few translations of the
There's
Bible.
only one
Let's get to
No, don't worry. That's usual. Let them. It's okay.
the Shabir.
Carry
Let's stick to the point. Of this
Exactly. I'm trying to.
Now you were the
Stay
one
away.
who were asking me about version and this and that, and then sneaked in a few points.
I had
And you
to.
wanted to tongue in cheek. You wanted to make a few remarks.
Arul.
You are the one who did that.
Arul, do you accept this
What?
as a Bible?
Well, it seems like.
Do you accept it?
Well, that seems.
Would you
like
take
it.
teaching from it?
Well, the Bible, yes.
Would you take this one?
Shabir, what's
There
the
you
object
are.
of
Thank
our
you.
discussion? What's our object of discussion?
Arul, you see, I said to you at the start, brother, if you are going to, I said it very
Shabir,
clearly.
I am a Christian.
I am not
Shabir,
interjecting.
you're making a few points which I'm
Arul.
not happy with, Shabir. I am a Christian. Take the number of books in the New Testament there. 27 books. Jesus died, came back alive. You carrying any number of those books isn't going to help you at all.
The same
Every single
Brother,
Bible,
brother.
every single Bible you can have access to at the park. Jesus died, came back alive. Jesus claimed to be God. He was worshipped as the Yahweh of the Old Testament. That is what you would find. Doesn't help the Islamic agenda. Let's put an end to that there.
Arul.
Let's move on to the topic
Arul.
of discussion, please.
Arul.
Shabir, Let's get back to the
I'm
topic.
allowing you to speak.
I
Allow
know,
me to speak.
but
what I'm
this
going
is a diversion already.
It's not at all. You
It
start.
is.
Look. Am I going to? Are you going to allow me to? I
started
Arul, I was
Are you
silent.
with him?
Nazir bhai.
Did he not ask me what version I am using?
Arul, listen.
Did
listen.
he not do that?
Arul.
How
Arul,
can you say I started it?
Arul, brother,
You
listen.
had a mighty go about other Muslims.
Brother, please,
when
brother.
he said
He's kindly
that
talking to me,
sister,
brother.
With respect, you
Brother.
disagreed with him, started slanting.
Yeah,
disagree
brother,
with
wait, one
Muslims,
second.
That is
Cut
true.
out
That's not
your-
Thank you.
only
Cut
No,
out
don't worry.
your
Arul.
hypocrisy.
We keep. Yeah. Thank you. Look, Arul.
Shabir, with all due respect,
look,
shall we
again,
get back to the
I have not interjected when you spoke. Don't. I said to you, Arul, at the start that look, if you are going to bring points,
You know,
I'm going to have to respond because that would be unfair.
Shabir,
One second,
you
one
are the
second,
one.
one second.
I was looking
Look,
for a Bible. You
Arul-
were the one who went there, brought those
Arul,
two.
you are taking advantage of my kindness now, aren't you? I'm not interjecting when you are speaking. Please give me the same respect. I said to you, when you brought about, you said, look, oh, I wanted my Bible. I went and I pulled them out. I said, oh, which one? Okay? I didn't mind because look, as a Christian, and you emphasized that you're a Christian. As a Christian, you tell only the truth, don't you? You do.
Which is what I have
You
done.
do. One second. You do. So when I'm asking you truthfully, do you accept this to be the inspired word of God? Your answer should be yes. But what I'm saying to you is simple. As a Christian, you can't lie, you can't deceive. That's what you are telling me.
Cool,
But
Shabir. I think we've
one
gone
second,
on a
one second,
tangent now. We should get back to
one
the
second.
discussion.
Again, you're interjecting. What I am saying, my position about the Muslims here was that look, they are only being fair that there are different versions. You brought up the 30 Quran one, not a problem. I don't have an issue at all. But what I am saying is, if we are going to do something, let's do it properly. So you have brought 2 Samuels, yeah? Now, is that part of the Tanakh?
Why are you asking me this now?
Look, isn't it part of the Bible?
It is.
It is. Now,
Why are you asking me now?
I'll tell you why. Because when we had our conversation, it was to do with the Torah and the Quran. My view, and I'm saying this, that we do it the right way. You are directly going into the verses, okay, without having established whether what we have has any element of truth. So, if
There we go.
let me
Shabir,
finish.
Shabir, I'm
let
beginning
me
to see
finish.
deception already here.
Let me finish.
I'm really beginning to. Shall we
Are you
get
going to allow me to finish?
about what? We have a
Let
topic.
me finish my conversation with you in a civilized, decent manner. That's what Muslims are supposed to do. I'm doing that. What I was about to say to you, you didn't even know and you automatically assumed. I was about to say to you, look, I am sticking to the script we agreed, the Torah and the Quran. Logic tells me that, look, the first thing we have to do is establish, as you are a Christian, yeah? I know, I'm aware, and I'm sure you are aware, that the distinction, before we go into whether the verse says this and the verse says that, the distinction that is made by the Jews and the Christians in relation to how many books are the canon are different. Do you agree?
Shabir,
You don't agree?
Shabir,
Yes.
I haven't interjected you now. Am I hearing you right? Are you essentially saying in a debate that we just began 10 minutes ago, where we were going to talk about keeping oaths, are you saying we must now discuss the canon first and get to this? Is that what I'm hearing from you? Is that really what I'm hearing from you?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
I said to you, I'm trying to keep to the script we agreed, but I will follow you through if you want to talk only about the oaths. But there is one very important thing, Arul, you are missing.
The canon.
No. If you are going to relate a verse, doesn't logic tell you and tell me that we have to establish the validity of that statement first?
In other words, the veracity of the manuscript.
Do you agree? Should we establish the validity of that verse? Because if
What
we
do you
are,
mean the validity? What do
I
you
thought
mean?
so. I'll tell you what I mean, Arul. Look, if I am going to accept this readily, yes.
When you say
One
accept,
second,
what
wait.
do you mean?
I'm trying to explain. If I am going to accept this readily as it is, should I accept it as the word of God in totality?
In other words,
No.
you are now
Should
first
I?
trying to advance the idea of whether this is canon or not, which is what I said earlier. You said no.
No.
What do you want to do now?
No,
This is
I'm
the Bible.
not doing anything.
So, in other words, what I see you do
Right,
is a
Arul,
very simple
yeah,
thing.
I'll tell you what.
Shabir,
I
what
think
I
this is
see
a-
you do is a very simple thing, which is, we began with a simple topic. I thought you were genuinely going to engage with me on that topic. If you had said you weren't prepared for that topic and you wanted us to debate that later, I am fine with that. If that is what you had said, I would be completely fine with that. But that is not what you're saying. What you're rather saying is, I'm assuming, and here I can only guess. To me, it seems like maybe you're not prepared to debate on the particular topic. Maybe you're not ashamed. You're ashamed. Maybe you can't defend the Islamic Allah. And therefore, you're trying to extend our conversation even before we come to the subject that we thought we were going to discuss by talking about all sorts of other things like canon and so on. That's my perception. I could be entirely wrong. Just prove me wrong, Shabir. I really was expecting something much better from you.
Very easy, Arul. You see, it actually has just shown that you are not listening carefully.
Okay.
Because when I started, I said, look, Arul, you have come and you have changed the goalposts. In normal circumstances, anybody who does that ought to be told, look, go away, no discussion. I didn't do that. I was considerate to you. Number two, I also said to you, look, if we were going to talk about that, now you want to talk about oaths when you are asking the brother there. And I said, well, if that's the case, okay, we'll go with that. No
Torah
problem.
versus
One
Sharia.
second. No, we'll go with that because you had now, the word Torah had just disappeared when you started. I am the one who introduced it because that is what we had agreed to have a conversation about, Torah and Quran. Now, I'm still saying, look, no problem, I'll go ahead with it. But what you have missed totally, you give me a verse, and I said to you, I don't agree with it. How do we proceed?
What do you mean don't agree? Do you
Exactly.
mean I don't agree that
No.
that verse doesn't exist in the Bible? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I am saying to you, Arul,
You don't agree that that should be in the Bible?
do you allow me to speak? Arul, you see, my method is different. And I'm sure you will have seen the videos. I look at the evidence and then we assess the evidence. Okay? You gave a verse from the Quran and you said it was the polar opposite to what the Bible says. And I said to you, okay, give me an example, and you were going to Samuel. Okay? Now, I am saying to you, look, don't I, and you tell me if I'm wrong in the way I'm thinking, don't I have the right to ask you, wait a minute, Arul, I can see as a Christian you are going to Samuel, but I am thinking, is that part of the Torah or is it not part of the Torah? If it is part of the Torah, fine. If it is not, problem. But if then you are going to insist on reading it, I can easily conclude that this has nothing to do with the Creator.
In other words,
How do we proceed?
in other words, your excuse now is
No, I don't have
if
an excuse.
Let me finish now.
I don't
Your
have an
excuse now is if I pull out verses from the Bible to demonstrate that Yahweh of the Bible clearly is polar opposite to the Islamic Allah, your excuse is going to be, oh, I don't trust in this Bible. That's your excuse.
Are you asking or are you telling?
I'm telling you. That's what
Well, I'm
I
telling you,
perceive
you
from
are
what
wrong.
you're saying.
You are wrong.
To prove it, I'd be
You are
happy
wrong.
to know I'm wrong. Prove to me why precisely you don't even want me to read the portion of scriptures I wanted to read.
Excellent. You see, I never even stopped you from reading them. What I did say, I preempted you and I said, look, the verses you are going to read, okay, don't I have a right to establish whether they are from the source that you claim? That's all I was asking. Now, here, one second, Arul.
Confused here,
I
Shabir.
know you are.
They are from the Bible.
One second.
If that is what you mean,
Arul,
that is from the
you
Bible.
told me you
What
wouldn't
else are you
interject.
asking?
You would not interject.
No, but you're making points which are not advancing
Arul,
anything here.
Arul, I am only saying to you that at this moment in time, you are saying you are confused.
No.
One second,
I know I'm not confused, but you seem to make points which are thoroughly confusing
to you.
and therefore
Okay,
there is
I'll
some
tell-
problem somewhere. That's what I'm trying to imply here.
There is a big problem, but I tell you what, I think that the understanding here is at cross purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow you to proceed.
Good, thank you. So Shabir, by this time, I think many people might have forgotten what I was trying to say earlier. Quran.
No, you were saying from
Quran,
Surah
I
66,
read 66
you read
verse
about
2,
him releasing people from the oath.
66 verse 2 Islamic Allah thinks people going against their oaths could lawfully happen, and in this particular case, it's not even lawfully happening through the motivation of the people involved, but rather of Islamic Allah himself. Islamic Allah is introducing that lawful deviation, lawful absolution. In contrast, I'm going to read to you a passage from scriptures, the Bible, 2 Samuel chapter 21 verses 1 to 14. The first few are the important bits, the first few verses. The rest are just so you get a historical context right. Now there was a famine in the days of David for 3 years, year after year. And David, King David, inquired of the Lord, of Yahweh. And the Lord, Yahweh, answered, "It is because of Saul, King Saul, and his bloodthirsty house, because he killed the Gibeonites." Because he killed the Gibeonites. And the context of this essentially is that if you read Joshua 9, chapter 9, verse 1 to 7, let me give you a brief outline of the history there. Gibeonites are part of Canaanites. When Israel had to march into Canaan, they had to wipe out all Canaanites. Now the moral aspect of that, I'm willing to have a debate on that on some other occasion. Right now, the point is, Israel were asked to do a particular thing, remove them from that land. But what ended up happening, Gibeonites, which is one particular group there, they had deceived Joshua. They deceived by saying, "Oh, we are not really from here, we are foreigners, we are just here briefly, we are foreigners." So Joshua was misled to think that Gibeonites weren't Canaanites and therefore weren't part of the people group he was supposed to eliminate from the land. That was the context. In that context, Joshua was willing to make a covenant with the Gibeonites. Without verifying with God, he made a covenant, and that covenant was, "You're not part of the people who I was supposed to wipe out. You are here, you are saying you're foreigners, fair enough. I would leave you behind. I would leave you behind alive, and you can live under our protection." That was the oath. Later on, he got to know that Gibeonites were really from Canaan. Later on, Joshua got to know, not long after that, he got to know they were really Canaanites, at which point now he had no way to trace back his oath, the covenant, and therefore all that he could say was, "I gave you a word. I know you deceived me. Even though you deceived me, I have no way to go against my oath." In other words, Yahweh does not allow absolution. That was what happened in the case of during the time of Joshua. Fast forward, come to King David's time. What is happening here? King David got to know there was famine for 3 years, and the reason for the famine was the people to whom a covenant was given by Israel, the Gibeonites, were killed. Some of them were killed by King Saul's house. Enemies, wicked people, all those things. But a covenant was given, and because a covenant was given, here, when the covenant was breached, Yahweh says, "I'm going to punish Israel." Keeping a covenant is very important for me. In other words, simple point, Yahweh wants people to keep their word at all times, no matter the circumstance. Islamic Allah willy-nilly, for simple things in life, just to have one more lady here, one more lady there, thinks you can be absolved from your oaths. And this is a very, very scary thing to me. When you get married to someone, I'm assuming Islamic Allah would want you to keep the oath. But it seems like that is not the case. That is my challenge. Polar opposite. How could these two at the same time be God? Obviously they can't be, is my challenge. Shabir, I'd invite a legitimate way, a reasonable way from you to respond in saying, how can you resolve the polar opposite attributes of the true God of the Bible versus the Islamic Allah of the Quran?
in response, because you are going quite lengthy, I think we should reduce it a bit so we can have an opportunity to have a conversation, okay? But in summation, you are saying that the whole of the Bible tells you very clearly you must not go against your oaths. Whereas according to you in Surah 66, according to your wording, willy-nilly, it doesn't say that, but since you use the word willy-nilly, and you use the example of marriage, yeah? All the while you are speaking, I'm thinking to myself, I thought Brother Arul would logically apply himself to the conversation. And hopefully you will do that, yeah? But I don't look at it that way. You see, you have taken one verse, yeah? And it is like, that's all Islam says. It doesn't. There are many instances, yeah, as Muslims, and I'm sure you will be aware, where we are told, okay, we must not lie, we must not cheat, yeah? You can Google it, you don't need any. You must not cheat, you must not do this. Be just, even against your own self. Now, that's Surah 4, 135. I'm asking you this, Arul, because I did say when we started, apply reason in so many words, yeah? When it says, I have to be just against myself, yeah, and I have an oath to do something with someone, and I willy-nilly, according to you, break it, am I being just against myself, or am I being unjust against myself? I'll ask you to think about that, number one. Number two, you see, this conversation that you have brought, in a nutshell, okay, we can end between the polar opposite of the Bible creator and the Quran creator. My view is the creator is one, and everything that the creator does is consistent. If there is inconsistencies between what is contained in the Bible and in the Quran, then I can confidently assert that the Quran, as in Surah 5 verse 48, tells us very clearly that it is the one that oversees everything that had come prior. Then if there is any misunderstanding in here, it is the misunderstanding that we need to remove. Now, if I were to say to you, right, listen, Arul, yeah, your reasoning is that everything that the Bible contains is all about justice, all about truth, all about...
Sorry, I'm listening. I'm listening.
No, I don't speak to people who are doing two things at the same time.
No, I'm listening. Shabir, you must...
Are you sure?
I am
okay,
listening.
I'll carry on then.
Yeah.
Yeah? You see,
I'm
because...
taking notes as you're
Not a
speaking,
problem.
so-
You see, because I know that as a Christian, from Genesis to Revelation, you must accept everything, okay? So, when it tells you that you must keep your oaths no matter what, yeah? In your conversation, I think it was with Shamsi, yeah? You made it very clear that, look, you are told to deceive, yeah? Because you referred to Surah 3, okay? This goes to the heart of what you are saying, because I'm not only talking about oaths, yeah? Let's, like I said to you, let's cut the chase. Let's look at what one basis can demolish the whole edifice, okay? So I would say to you, look, if I was looking at the Bible, okay, and you tell me that you must keep your oaths no matter what, yeah? I would suggest to you that, look, as human beings, the Creator gives us the guidance, and the guidance is for our benefit, not for the benefit of the Creator. Unless you believe that God can come down as a man, that's a different issue, okay? So I would ask you, Arul, if I were to tell you that, look, the agreement or the oath, yeah, especially in the context of Surah 66 that you brought up, and you are aware of it because of what had happened between the Prophet and the wives, okay? In certain circumstances, if me and you have an agreement and you breach the agreement, am I entitled to nullify it?
Is that a rhetoric question?
No, I'm asking you.
So now, is it my chance?
No. And you see, I said a conversation. And in a conversation, like when you asked me a question, I answered and then I proceeded. Yeah, and you proceeded also. One second, Arul.
Please
I'm
you
saying,
go on.
No. I told you we'll have a conversation. So I'm asking you now, yeah, that if me and you have an agreement, okay, and you break that agreement, am I entitled to also break it?
I'm not sure if that's relevant.
I thought you would say that. So let
This
me
is
go
not
forward.
relevant.
Okay, so what is happening here is this. If I were to say, look, according to my understanding of the Bible, okay, the Creator, according to the Bible, in fact, the contents are replete with the Creator himself being quite deceptive, yeah? Him deceiving, forget about human beings. Now, I would ask you that, look, I've given you the explanation about the verse you brought up. The 2 Samuel one, I'm saying to you, look, if I were to kindly ask you to go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 14, verse 9. If you can go to that and let's just read it so that we know where we are. If you can just please. Yeah? I'll hold it for you
So
if you want.
I'm assuming somewhere down the line you're going to reconcile the attributes that we just spoke about.
Oh
Somewhere
yes,
down the
yes, yes.
line. Ezekiel
14:9.
Ezekiel 14:9.
Yeah.
And if the prophet is induced to speak anything, I, the Lord, have induced that prophet, and I will stretch out my hand against him and destroy him from among my people Israel.
Okay. When it says I have induced, what does the word mean?
So sorry, Shabir.
Oh,
I'm,
no.
I'm planning to have a Shabir. I'm not here for a Q&A. I'm not here for an interrogation. I'm here for a discussion. I have raised a challenge. I'm going to give you time for you to make your points.
I made it.
Have you made that? In which case I can
made
go
it.
back. I can
No.
go back.
One
to
second,
some
one
of
second,
your-
one second, Arul.
Yeah.
I told you I am not going to have. One second, Arul. At the start, I made it very clear. In all honesty, Arul, this conversation I'm only allowing. Yeah, and I'll tell you. I am saying to you that when the verse is telling you something, okay, I am suggesting to you that that particular verse is very clear. It is talking about the Creator deceiving people. Very clear. The Creator is saying, one second, the Creator is saying, I deceive. Now, what I said to you is, look, you can do that as much as you
go on.
want. The point is, I'll read it for you, okay?
Now, yeah,
Brother, can I
by
just-
all means read it and
Can
make
you just
your
hold this?
points.
Thank you. Yeah?
Yeah, by all means
Eh,
you can read and make
right.
your points, and then I'll jump in with my response.
No. I would
supposed to be in
I would expect
Mexico.
you. I would expect you to
You're supposed
respond
to be
to my question like
Yeah,
I
I'll
did to
jump-
yours.
I'll come back with my response. I'll
Yeah.
jump in
Okay.
with my
Good.
response.
Good. Excellent. That is. Now, I have made it very
And I
clear.
think Shabir might want to come here just
Oh,
for a second.
sorry. Yeah. Can you see me? Am I handsome enough?
We're fine.
Okay then. Right. Okay.
Within the limitations of 10 on the
Right. 14, verse 9. Yeah? It says, I am Jehovah. And when the prophet is inveigled so that he speaks a word, I, Jehovah, have inveigled that prophet. What does the word invade mean? Can we Google it, please?
No.
The word
Shabir,
invade.
Shabir.
One second.
Shabir.
Arul, look.
He's being
I think
brought up.
I think what you need to understand, in a conversation, Arul, you have your way of doing things. Let me have mine. Don't impose on me. All I am saying to you is, look, the whole basis, and I did say that, the whole edifice can be demolished if I can prove to you, using only one verse, that the Creator, according to the Bible, deceives. And if that, one second, if that is the case, then anything you subsequently say has to be justified in the context.
I'm talking about keeping oaths.
Let me finish.
Keeping oaths.
Let me finish. Arul,
Shabir,
let me finish.
talking about
Have you
keeping
found it?
oaths.
What does it say?
Persuade someone to do something by means of
What?
deception of
Shabir.
Now, whoa. Don't, calm down, Arul. Look, I am saying to you, the word is very clear that this is what, according to Ezekiel 14:9, according to the Bible, God personally deceives. Now, in one of the videos, you made it very clear to whoever you're speaking to that when they refer to Jeremiah, oh, no, it wasn't God directly deceiving. Well, this particular...
Shabir,
one
I'm
second,
willing to have a long conversation with you
Arul,
about deception.
Arul,
I'm willing to have that.
Right.
But today,
Arul,
not that.
Arul,
We're talking
Arul.
about keeping oaths.
Arul, you are...
Simple.
Arul, no.
Sticking
Arul,
to your word.
Listen. You said, You said to me, you've come with an agenda of what the discussion should be. I said to you, look, are we going to include the whole of the Bible? Yes, we are going to include it. Now, how I'm making the point, and I made it clear to you, that look, when it comes to the ideas of deception, breaking of oaths, etc.,
they're not the same.
One second. If I can finish, Arul. For you to use the Bible is virtual suicide, respectfully. Now, why I'm saying that, I'm using this verse, as I told you, you see, when you talk about oaths, these are legal elements, okay? I will give you an example, and I want you to follow this through, The rabbis, okay, collectively established 613 commandments, okay? 248 were positive, 365 negative. Out of that, number N294, it says, according to their understanding of the Torah, very clearly they say that if a person commits a sin under duress, they are not to be punished. That they have gleaned from the Bible. The question I would ask is, if their understanding of the Torah is that if you commit a sin under duress, it is not to be considered a sin. If you are forced to lie, according to them, you don't get punished. Now, I'm saying to you, if you use the Bible to try and justify how just, for want of a better word, the Creator is, then you are committing virtual suicide. Now, I'm asking you, according to Ezekiel 14:9, you talk about oaths. I'm suggesting to you that the very being that allegedly is telling you to keep your oaths is himself, I'm using the word himself, telling you that he deceives people. Now, I'm asking you, Arul, a simple question. According to Ezekiel 14:9, if you agree with me that yes,